Last time we spoke about Nosein Ta'am Lifgam in a general sense, and then we went up to Halacha Aleph. There's really another thing to talk about Halacha Aleph, which we're not going to talk about, just time-wise. I'll mention it in it for a second, which is the shach about things that don't have a Ta'am Lishvach or Lifgam. And the shach talks about something that's a big to-do in the Acharonim about it, and you would be surprised to find out that it has some practical applications. Your kids probably ate food based on that child today. Okay. Not you kids probably, but okay. Okay, but let's go on to Halacha Beis. Halacha Beis talks about some examples, some food, some things that are very theoretical, and we're going to talk about a very practical example of what he talks about. There's an infant formula that you may have heard of. It goes under two names from two different brands. One is called Nutramigen, one is called Alimentum. Let's say infant formula. A formula for babies. It's Nutramigen or Alimentum. It's two different companies. It's the same. The chachma is the same. And that is, there are children who can't digest just about anything. Most of them can't even nurse. They can't digest formula, and therefore they have no other way to live except that they have this formula which is pre-digested. Okay, the parts of the formula are pre-digested, and then these children could eat it and they could live. Okay, we're ignoring the fact that it might be a sakana. Okay, we're not paying attention to that. We'll come back a little bit to that later, but we're ignoring that fact. The shaila is two shailas. One is, can the children eat the formula? Is it okay for them to eat it? The ingredients are kosher except for one, you'll hear in a second. And the other shaila is the kelim that it's made on. These are made by the same companies that make all the other baby formulas. Does the company have to kasher their kelim after they make this formula before they make the regular ones? Okay, what's wrong with this formula? The way they pre-digest the formula they take a piece of a chazer stomach, okay, and in it has an enzyme, and they throw it in, and they throw it into the protein. And yeah, I don't know. I guess if they would use a behemoth share, it wouldn't make it much better. I mean, it would be in the behemoth. Yeah, okay. For whatever reason, they use a pig enzyme. I don't know why. They use, and this enzyme that does whatever it does for the pig stomach does the same kind of trick for whatever they put into this formula. It helps digest the thing, and then it goes on. They mix it with other things, and they give it to the baby. So the shaila is, obviously, pigs are not kosher. So the shaila is, there's no hechsher on these formulas. But all the other ingredients besides the chazer are kosher. These are made in the same companies that make all the other kosher formulas. So the shaila is, can the baby take it? And what about all the kelim that it's run on? That today they're making this formula, and tomorrow they're making the regular formula that everybody else's children are eating. So those are the two parts of the shaila.
The shaila is on the regular formulas or on that formula?
The shaila on that formula, can the baby take that formula? And second is, what about, do they have them kasher if they make that one before they make the regular formula that the regular babies have? I mean, that's everybody's baby, not just the sick babies have. Everybody. How does it work? I have to tell you a little bit how the process goes to making this formula. They take a vat of the protein that's created, milk or whatever has the protein in it, and into it they put this piece of chazer. It's not butter, and it sits there for a week. Okay. After the first day, meaning after it's been covered together, everything still tastes fine. But by the end of the 7 days, it tastes putrid. Okay? It's turned disgusting, as you could imagine. It's just been digested. Okay? Imagine taking something out of the pig's stomach. Right? So it tastes digested. Okay? So by the time the week is over and it's ready, it's been digested, and it doesn't taste very good at all. Okay? And then they filter out most of the pig. The actual chazer itself, most of it gets taken out. Not all, but most of it actually gets filtered out, because that's not what the baby needs. And then they mix it with other ingredients, the other things that go into the formula, and on it goes to make baby formula. So, the kli itself, the original kli into which they made this, they digested, where the coverage happened, that kli for sure needs to be kasher. Why? It's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. After 24 hours it was covered. At that point it was still a shvach. At that point everything still tasted fine. So that kli for sure needs to be kosher. That's not a big deal. That's a simpler issue, just to deal with that one kli. Well, the question is, what about for the kelim that come afterwards? What about for the kelim that come afterwards? When it comes to these places, the chazer that was in there ended up making this thing taste awful. So what's the question? It should be an example of what the Shulchan Aruch brings a day here in this halacha, which is, you have a food, which is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. As a rule, we say something that's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam is bottle. It's bottle b'roiv. It doesn't have to be bottle b'shisha. But it's an example of something that's higdil midasai. Because you put in the thing that was Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, made it more valuable. it made that this formula is worth much more than it used to be beforehand. Why? It used to be that babies couldn't digest it, and now they can. I mean, all right, it even costs more, but that's not my point. It's not the money of it. It's that this baby wants to take it because they can't eat any other formula. So by putting in the Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, what did something that was hidden with us. It didn't actually make it a bigger volume. That's the case that the Shushanim were talking about. But it has,
because you want to go according to the Ran?
yeah.
But people in the Ran is talking about the meat, even using the...
I'm not talking about...
Other sheets would say the same
Quality, no, quality-wise, it's better off because of this. But it is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. It's not making it worse. It tastes awful, but it makes it a more valuable thing.
The end result's better.
The end result is overall you ended up with something better, but time-wise you ended up with something worse. So that l'chayra, it should be an example. That's the shayla. L'chayra should be an example of what these machlokas shouldn't be. Is what? It is. Yes. Now, an interesting part, which has a lot to do with the shayla, is a regular person who would try to eat this formula would not be able to eat it. Supposedly, I never tried it, but it supposedly tastes so disgusting that regular people wouldn't eat it. It is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, like really bad news. But the baby has underdeveloped taste buds, so the baby doesn't know the difference. So from the baby's perspective, it doesn't make a difference what he's eating. So him, it doesn't bother. Okay?
Even when they add the stuff to the same.
Yeah, the baby eats this formula.
Before they add the stuff.
You put this. I don't know. That's a good child. I don't know. I have a feeling.
ice cream. Put it into ice cream.
I know. He's asking us what happened at the very beginning stages before they mix in the other things with the baby.
What the shvat benefit for that?
I have. My impression is that the babies wouldn't care no matter what. Because they completely are not very risky things. They're not holding by those things. So they don't. Then it makes no difference. Okay. Again, it's a shayla. That's questionable. I'm not the expert. There was yesh v'yesh whether it was nifsal me'achila completely or just Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. That was up in the air between. I don't know who was the one who tasted it. Then it's more kal the shayla. Right. Then it's more kal. Okay, we're going to work then with the assumption that it's not nifsal me'achila completely. It's just Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. It just makes it taste worse. And l'chayra was an example of this shayla nushan. So. This shayla came to the OU, as you can imagine, I used to work at the OU. It came to the OU because they give hashgacha. They don't give hashgacha on these formulas, but they give hashgacha on everything else made by these companies. So they got answer. We get answer shayla at the CRC also, but they dealt with the shayla. They knew much more about the mitzias. They were giving hashgacha on the company. Okay, and as I told you, they had to think about another shayla, which is what about kashrus and the kalim? Once they mixed everything together, it went through the rest of the equipment like everything else. So they had to think about kashrus and the kalim was a very real shayla for them to touch. Okay. So the OU has two people who passed in the shaylos. Both of them thought it was mutter. I'm going to tell you, but they had completely opposite reasons. Okay, they both had completely different reasons. Okay, and like first one is Rabbi Shach. He said like this. He said, when you want to decide if something is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, or if when you were higdon midasai it was more valuable now that you were higdon midasai, he says, when you make that decision, he says you have to look at an average normal person. You go outside and stop 10 people on the street and you say to them, is this Nosein Ta'am Lifgam or shvat? And is it more valuable now that you were higdon midasai or not? He says, if you go to the regular person in the street, the Nosein Ta'am Lifgam to them is horrible. They could taste it would be horrible to them. And fakir. All the people in this room could digest food regular, so to us, the extra value that it's pre-digested has no meaning to me. What is that? Well, I need a pig to digest my food. I can digest my own food. I don't know.
Plus, it's worth more money than you sell to people who can't eat.
So, but for
us also more money.
Don't look at a minority.
What? See,
don't look at a
minority because everybody pays money of it.
See, he says you're judging it. He says you're judging it by a bunch of bali mum. He says taking a bunch of people who can't taste anything and have something wrong with their stomach.
What's found the balloon that is worth something?
What do you say?
Saying you think what's found the balloon that is worth something.
But for the regular person, he says you make these kind of shikulim by regular people. Okay, so Berdowski didn't. You'll hear just this is one sign. Okay, so he said some Mamela. He says so. What do you care about this kid? There's one kid, but the Hamoinam for them, the pagam is horrible. The value is zero. He says so. It's not all a case. But it means is because it's worth more to the mushrif because the people who are going to buy it also going to have to buy from it. You're saying if let's say it was only a small group of people to whom it was worth more.
They're servicing a minority, but they don't need it.
It's worth more.
Okay, so you're arguing, you're both arguing. You're saying it, even to the average person it's worth more, because I know that there are some people who not going to need it.
That's why he did it, right?
I understand. So you say there are some. So even to everybody here in this room, it's because I have it, because I can sell it for more money. Okay, I can hear that. Okay, I can hear both sides of that. Okay, I can hear both on both sides. Okay, now.
Wasn't it only made for those people?
Right.
Yes, I'm getting to that. Okay, this is what this is for. Now, I'm gonna digress for a second. Two things. First of all is, I had people. I mentioned beforehand that l'chayra for most of these kids who take it, it's a sakana, and of course they should be able to take it. Rabbi Shepta had a whole different mahalach about why they should take it, even if they're not really a sakana. I mean, there's some people who take this, the doctor's not sure that the baby needs it. It's more like let's give it a try. The Gemara says in Yuma that the reason why children are allowed to eat on Yom Kippur is not because of sakana. You don't have to wait until the kid's in the sakana to feed him, but because Hainu Rabbi say you're allowed to give a child what he needs for his regular development. They're not holding by mitzvahs at that point, and therefore he says, so this is Hainu Rabbi say for this kid, this is what he needs to eat. It doesn't have to be sakana in order to give it to him. That was a different part to give. That has nothing to do with the shiloh here. That's just a general shiloh. Okay. And then another side point, which was, should we say ach shevei by the fact that the child eats it? Should we say that if you have something that's not royal achila, and then I go ahead and eat it, so the din is that midrabanon we say ach shevei by the fact that I ate it, I show that to me it is royal achila. Now, of course, midrabanan I don't say that, but midrabanan we say such a thing. So you should say that the fact that the child is eating it should be considered ach shevei. That what?
The child's eating makes it actually a lot of.
Okay, he said a variation of that. He said that. That's true. But he's just, I'm just the clear of it. You're right. He doesn't have to be worried about it. He's a chayla. He doesn't have to worry. You're 100%. Okay, so he said it using the Chavas Das that we said last time, which is Chavas Das says if you say take something that's not royal achila and you put onto it sugar and you make it that you could get it down, it's not usher to eat it. He says, what would you say if a person ate something like that? Would you say ach shevei? Would you say that the fact that the person ate it is ach shevei? He says, of course not. Because ach shevei says, if you ate it, even though most people consider it not edible, obviously to you, the fact that it's spoiled makes no difference, and for you, it's considered edible even though it was spoiled. But if you covered it with sugar, there's no riot. The fact that I ate it is because I like the sugar. The fact that I'm eating it is not a riot that I don't consider it spoiled. No, it has nothing to do with it. I just covered it over in such a way that I got it down. So over here also, the fact that the baby who can't taste eats it is not ach shevei. Ach shevei would only be if somebody who doesn't like food that tastes bad will go ahead and eat it anyhow. So he's showing for regular people it's considered not edible. For me, I like it. I enjoy this taste. But for this baby, doesn't taste anything. The baby doesn't have a sense of taste. So you can't say the fact that he ate it proves that for him he considers it royal achila. To him, it doesn't mean anything. It's like he put sugar on it.
Came out of Auschwitz.
Yes. Okay. That's a strong example. Okay. Now, the truth. Now, so I told you that so far. The first one reason. Ravelsky looked at the whole thing completely different. He says you're considering this thing. You're saying it's not higdom midasai because average people don't gain from this. He says it's one thing if you have a food and there's just a minority of people for whom it's extra valuable. They have some special reason why they want it. So you can talk like that. He says, but over here, this is not a food that by coincidence is good for these babies. The food is made specifically for them. The group who eats it, it's not that there's a food that's really spoiled, and there happens to be some Meshuggah who happens to want to eat it. They make it after for this kid. So the group that you look at, you look at the average person, but you look at the average of who it's made for. So the people who it's made for them, the higdom midasai is better than the Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. So he says, he didn't get quite that far. Apple picking, he said he should eat it anyhow. It's okay anyhow. Why? Because it's a machlokes rishonim that what happens to higdom midasai. Right? I mean, it's 2 days where the higdom midasai. So Samazai, we would be machmer, and we would say that if higdom midasai, you should be machmer. It's not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. So if we're sitting with a chayla, that's the reason. That's a case to be samach on those rishonim who are mekel, who said that higdom midasai makes no difference, and overall it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, and therefore it's mutter. But we leave just with one question on what he said is that a little bit he's not being so fair over here, because he's saying, since it was made for these babies, therefore, in deciding if it's higdom midasai, they're the ones who decided. We don't look by the hamoinam, we look by these babies. Okay. Why don't we say that about the Nosein Ta'am Lifgam also? You decided this is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. No, it's not true. The people who it's intended for them it's not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. It doesn't ruin the taste at all. Remember, the baby doesn't care what it tastes like. So for the baby, it wasn't Nosein Ta'am Lifgam either. So if you're going to say we only look at the people who it's meant for, it's takanat higdem midasei. That's also not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. If it's not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, so what is it? So it's chazer mixed into food and it has to be vatal b'shishim. It's not mutter. So why are you splitting it and saying l'gabi higdem midasei? That I'm willing to look at the group I'm giving it to. But l'gabi whether it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, I don't care about that. You should taka say it's only for this group. And for this group, it's not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam and it's not higdem midasei. So it goes back to the main rules of bit b'shishim.
If the issue is tam, and the children don't have tam, why are they answering it all together?
Because that's the rule, that Isser is not bottled until it's not Nosein Ta'am. That's the din. That's the din. Rice is not bottled. It's a heter of Nosein Ta'am Lifgam.
I'm asking if you're going to take off the child that has no taste buds.
Yes.
So then nothing should be also for them.
What happens if you take chazer, just plain old chazer, and mix it and make soup for him? Would you give it to the baby?
If you're looking at the child as the testimony, because he is the dugma who it's intended for.
No, because Isser needs to be bottled. It has to be not Nosein Ta'am. Until it's not Nosein Ta'am, it's Isser. But I taste it sounds good. Yeah, so if it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, then it's mutter. So you say, in your Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, we look at the Hamoinam. And for most people, this is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. But in your whether it's hidden midasei, then we're all looking at you. So why are we splitting it like that? Okay, so why don't we say, if we only look at you, if you're the audience, then we should look for both in them. If we look at everybody, then it should be mutter. Okay, that's a question.
Nosein Ta'am Lifgam is telling the right again.
Okay. So you're saying Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, why would it be mutter? It's because it's related to being not royal ger. So therefore, royal ger is a general din. And on that, you're saying that even though it's meant for a very specific group of people, and for those gerim, it's really royal achila. For those group of people, it still is royal achila. There is a group that is same like here. In theoretical, just okay. I'm not sure if I could be mahag there. Okay, let's move on to halacha gimel.
The time is outside the grave, the time is outside the star. You want to take the first way, it's not outside.
Okay, move to. Okay, we'll move something that's related, not exactly, but related sort of to halacha gimel. Okay. Yeah, both. Okay, the fact. Rogowski's easy source to say that it's some of those. I'm asking you the question on it. What? I believe they do not have. So that if it be medical some Rishonim, then you should kasher the kid.
Right.
If the reason is because it's not Nosein Ta'am, then you wouldn't kasher. I don't remember. So I don't remember what they do about the kid. My impression is that they don't kasher the kid, but I don't remember it. So you talk that would be a nafkamina between them, whether you should kasher the kid. But that should be nafkamina.
So you're thinking all formulas in?
No, these two. The rest of the line. No, so it's to get to these two. The shot of Kashrus is to get to all formulas.
Oh, it's size soy, size milk.
No. It's isomil. To get to the milk is one. The power one. They have the Kashrus before the power one to make the power. This is milk.
Oh, so it's part now.
Okay. Okay, but it's not. There are two very large companies that make all the baby formulas, and each one of them makes a variation. Each one of them. That's the two brands. We'll talk about it on different times. We'll talk about it another time. Okay.
This should be negated the shach with the child. Even if you want to look at the child, it's not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. It's not Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. The kid can't taste. So you're saying, look at the child for the Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. He can't taste.
So therefore, for him, he's an example of that.
That shach maybe.
Right. So Rabbi Shachta is saying, don't look at it's not that at all. Ignore the baby completely. Ignore the baby. He's nobody. He doesn't count. He doesn't count for far.
So even if you want to look at the baby, it would be a neutral. It wouldn't be.
That would be a little bit better. If we want to look at the baby, if it's not completely Nosein Ta'am, it's totally in that child. Okay. In this simon, all the examples of Nosein Ta'am Lifgam that you keep hearing the examples are of things, one food that makes another food taste bad. Okay, that's what you keep hearing the examples of. The Darkei Tshuva, at the beginning of the simon, two places, he brings a dig from the Rambam and Pirush Mashayis that not only is it that's true if it makes it taste bad, but it's also true if it makes it smell bad. Okay, the deacon appears from science that even if it makes it smell bad, that's also considered Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. Other places can say, what happens if it doesn't taste bad or smell bad, but by putting this thing in, it made it poisonous? Okay, so then, to that they think is even more partial that's mutter, because when we say it's ain't a royal ger, so something that's poisonous is even that much more not edible anymore, because not only you can't eat it because it doesn't taste good, but you can't eat it because it's dangerous, therefore it's for sure not royal ger. But there's an interesting clair. What about if we're talking about a shiloh of something chametzik for Pesach, where there, in certain cases, the rule is not that it has to be not royal ger, it has to not be royal achilas kelev. Okay, the kelev has no intelligence. Okay, so the kelev doesn't know what's poisonous. So a ger won't eat something that's poisonous, but the kelev would eat something that's poisonous. He only cares what it tastes like. So if it tastes good, is that what it depends on? But still, put it down. If you put it down, if it tasted good and it smelled good, the kelev would eat it.
It's going to die?
The kelev, no, but the kelev doesn't understand it.
Would you give it to your
No, you wouldn't give it to the kelev. So you're saying it depends on the person. You're saying it's not only the kelev, because the person.
So that's not the possible.
Why wouldn't you dog eat taste good?
I'm saying,
He's saying is it doesn't.
what would you give someone to the dog?
I don't know. I always assume the other way. That it depends on what the dog would eat himself. But maybe that's not a science.
It's dog food. If you don't give it to the dog, it's not dog food either.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So now, in this din, in Halacha Gimel, we're hearing, I think it's the first time that he talks about when the interaction of the two foods is not in itself Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, but there was something else added in that has is what makes it Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. Okay, he says is if there's if the Kosher Isser Levada Lifgam, Eli they davar Achshem Messiah. So it's not the Isser and the Hefter that the combination is Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, but there's something else somehow mixed into there that makes Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. That's also considered Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. The result is that it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. That's mutter. Or it could be both. Okay? So all of that comes together. There's a bunch of things that I just mentioned to you for a shiloh. We'll start off with this way, which has a lot to do with toiletries. A shiloh of denatured alcohol. Okay? What denatured alcohol? Okay, what is denatured alcohol? What it is like this. The government, the American government, probably all governments, has a huge tax on beverage alcohol. I mean, alcohol that you're going to drink, there's a huge tax. The tax is somewhere like 100% tax. Okay? A huge tax on it. So, what happens if you have alcohol that you want to use not for drinking, but for something else? That you want to make shampoo out of you want to put alcohol into your shampoo. So, how do you prove to the government that you're not going to use this alcohol for drinking? If they give it to you, they don't want to charge you the tax, but how do they know you're not going to go ahead and go on the other end of your factory and sell it for drinking? So what they do is, they do something called to denature it. To denature it means they either make it taste terrible or poisonous. In the mail they know you're not going to drink it, no one's going to drink it anymore. And then you can use it for shampoo, because there's nothing wrong. They don't have to charge you a tax, because they know that's how you're not going to use it for drinking. Okay? That's the hamcha there. And if you look on a shampoo bottle, sometimes you'll see listed, it'll say, sometimes it does say alcohol, it doesn't have, but it'll say the letters SD or SDA and a number. Let's say SDA 35. And that stands for Specially Denatured Alcohol, formula number 35. Okay, so the government makes 50 formulas for how to denature alcohol, each one for a very specific purpose. And if you want to make shampoo and you want to denature the alcohol, you have to do this and this and this. And if you do that, so in the list of ingredients, it'll say alcohol or SDA alcohol or SD alcohol or something to that effect, 36. Replace whatever the number is, and that's the formula they use to make this alcohol. Okay. So, let's think of an example. I keep saying to you that alcohol, not all alcohol is kosher, but it's possible to make alcohol out of stam yayin, or out of chol of midrabanan, or out of stam yayin, out of gvinis akum. We're not talking about Pesach. Maybe at the end we'll talk about Pesach for a second. But it could be stam yayin, and it could be chol of midrabanan. From Meimi Cholav you can make it, or you can make it from gvinis akum. So it's potentially awesome. Okay. So to get to other shilas, you should just all those things that I just mentioned here are all Yisroel Drabanan. Okay, that has not convenience. But the shilas for year round are all Yisroel Drabanan. Okay, so it could be So, if you want to put alcohol into mouthwash, almost every mouthwash has alcohol. If you want to put alcohol into mouthwash, the government has a formula. And one of the formulas, a couple that you could use, one of them is 38C. Okay? That's the formula. And think about it, you have to realize, if you're making alcohol for mouthwash, you can't make it poisonous, because people can put it into their mouth. So, if this is not shampoo, you have to be the formula has to be a little more careful. So what's the formula for 38C? For every 100 gallons of alcohol, you have to put in 10 pounds of menthol and 1 1/4 gallons of formaldehyde. Okay? Now, what's formaldehyde? You don't have to know what formaldehyde is, but formaldehyde is described as having a pungent, irritating odor. Okay? So, I told you beforehand that if it has a bad odor, that's already enough to make it considered Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. So we took the alcohol, let's say the alcohol was Isser. Okay, we took into it, we added something else into it, and then together, when we then mix it into the mouthwash, we now have something that is, overall, it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. That's why the government did it. Remember, they're making sure to put, I don't know if 1 1/4 gallons is enough to make it Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, but the government does. That's why they made the formula. They wanted to make sure nobody would drink it. That was the whole kavanah, was to make sure nobody drinks it. So they put it into your mouthwash. There's more other things than alcohol. The alcohol is supposed to provide because of Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. How do I know it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam? You should say it. I know it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam because the government had made this formula up, dafka for mouthwash, to make sure that it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. So that would seemingly be, we should be able to say that that's an example of Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. And even if it would be Isser, I shouldn't care. It shouldn't make a difference to me that the alcohol might have been Isser because it's Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. Okay, so there's 4 things we have to clear about this, what I just said to you. The first is, many decades ago, this shaila of denatured alcohol was spoken about by the Kosher. And some are mekel, and some were machmer at that time. Okay, it was spoken about a long time ago. And there are those, you'll hear people will say that since there were those who machmer on that, so they want to be machmer on this shaila of denatured alcohol. What was the reason why there were achronim who mekel? The reason is for 2 reasons. One is, it's possible to get the denaturant out of the alcohol. Okay? Why should be awesome? Did I say make? I'm sorry. Why should be awesome? One is, this is from before that. I'm not going to say anything because I forget to do this. I'm not going to say it. I have something in my head. I'm not saying. One is because you could possibly remove the denaturant. And the second is because there are the people who are desperate to have alcohol will drink the stuff anyhow, hagam, that it tastes bad or whatever, and therefore it should be considered not necessarily. Okay. So let's just think about those 2 reasons for a second. The first one was you can get it out. So I just wonder whether the person who said it in their time, again, it was many decades ago, would say it today. And what I mean to say is, when you look at the government's formulas, and you look at how much effort they put into it, and how sophisticated they are, and how exact they are, you get the feeling, and the government, one more thing, the government has this huge incentive to make sure you don't cheat. You get the feeling that it's probably not so easy to get the stuff out. If every Chanyankel could get the stuff out, then it wouldn't have done the trick. Remember, the person who buys it has 100% incentive to get the stuff out. If it was so easy to get the stuff out, I would buy it and say I'm putting it into shampoo. I would do my this and that and the other thing to get it out, and I'd go sell it out the back door to someone who will make schnapps out of it. So obviously, the government, is doing something to make sure that it's not so easy. Okay, I can't vouch for it, but I'm saying that they have a big incentive to do it. And this, if you turn the pages of this thing, you see there's lots of chacham into how they did this. You get the feeling that nowadays it's not so true that you can just get it out. I'm sure that there's a way to get it out. I'm sure that there is a way to get it out, but we don't think about those things. I mean, for the normal, regular person with the regular methods, my guess is that it's not an easy thing to do, and you have to be really sophisticated to be able to get it out. And those things should make a difference. What about the other tiny? The other tiny was that a person who's desperate, a shikar, will drink it anyhow. In fact, it just happened. It just happened recently. It happens every so often, which is Purell. Purell is, the hand-washing soap. Purell, I'll tell you, Purell is different than regular soap. That Purell, what sanitizes your hand is alcohol. The alcohol evaporates. So regular soap, if you put it on your hands, you have to wash it off. And Purell, which is made the alcohol, you rub it on your hands, and it evaporates. So it's this great thing. It sanitizes your hands, and you don't have to wash your hands afterwards. They're clean as is. You don't have to wash them. Okay, so the Purell is made of more than 60% alcohol. Okay, that's what it is. It's alcohol that's cleaning your hands. So came along some teenagers who said, "Hey, 60% alcohol. This is a cheap drink. You know what I mean? For $1, I can get 60% alcohol." So they went ahead and they took the pill. And to the wonders of the modern world, they went on the internet to find out that there's a way to get what denatures the Corel is isopropyl alcohol. There's a way to get almost all the isopropyl out. There's a pretty easy way to get it. Okay? And you can get most of the isopropyl out, so they get most of it out. And wonderful, for $1, I can have a drink. It's pretty easy to get it in.
It's just plain alcohol.
Yeah, it's 60% alcohol. Yeah. Well, the problem is the reason why we heard about it is not because the mashgiach caught them in the door and drinking it. That's not why we heard about it. We heard about it because they were all in the hospital. Because they got sick from eating it because it still has isopropyl alcohol, but they didn't get it all out. It's not healthy at all. So hagam that there are people who drink it, and hagam that there are people. Well, they're still not. It's not a good drink to drink anyhow. The question is, do we have to think about? Should we say "Toiletries" by the fact that there are a couple of kids? They say in the news. It's only news, when man bites dog. Only when something unusual happens is it news. So the fact that there's some Meshuggah kid drank Pharrell is because it's Hakam Meshuggah who did it. That's why it's in the news. So you have to wonder whether that's an example of Toiletries that we should say is that we should care about that, because if there is all Meshuggah who does it, is that enough to make it awesome? Okay. What'd you say? Well, for him, for him, we're not worried about him. We're worried about all the rest of us. Do we have to clarify? Okay, now, Purell, you're not eating anyhow, but let's say it's mouthwash. So are there people who drink it? Maybe there are people who drink it because they want the alcohol that's in it. It has 20% alcohol. Do they want to drink it? But maybe they're Meshuggah. We don't have to think about those people. Like keep it saying, okay, that's one thing. Next. That was, I told you what side why you should maybe be maker. Now I'm going to tell you side why you should maybe be machmir. I told you the government puts a lot of chachma into making these formulas. Okay? So there's one, I'm going to give you an example of one formula. It's SD29. Okay? And SD29 is what you use when you want to denature alcohol for use in vinegar. Okay? Most vinegar that you have, the white vinegar, the clear vinegar, what they call white distilled vinegar, is made from alcohol. It's made from 95% pure alcohol. They water it down, and then they convert the alcohol into vinegar. So that alcohol is not for drinking. You shouldn't have to pay tax on that. So how are they going to sell a company 95% pure alcohol and make sure no one drinks it? So it has to be denatured. But I told you we have a problem. If you denature it, people are going to take that vinegar and put it on the salad. So what's going to be? So how could we denature the alcohol yet make it still good for vinegar? They came up with an amazing einfall. Okay? When alcohol changes into vinegar, between it being alcohol and being vinegar, acetic acid, between ethyl alcohol and acetic acid, in between, there's an in-between stage where it's something called ethyl acetate. Okay? You don't need to know what that is, except to know that it's poisonous. Okay? What? So, right, it's poisonous. So the rule is, you have to put a gallon of ethyl acetate into every 100 gallons of alcohol that's going to be sold to vinegar. Which means nobody's going to drink the stuff, because if you drink it, you're out cold. I mean, you're finished. You can't drink the stuff. It's not possible to drink it. It's poisonous. It's, of course, Nosein Ta'am Lifgam. But when you put it and make it into vinegar, lo and behold, there's not a bit left. It all turns into vinegar. It's part of becoming vinegar is that you become ethyl acetate in the middle. So they said, think of that. They put it, the way to denature it is not to put in, what was the other thing, formaldehyde? Formaldehyde, you kill everybody. But instead we put in ethyl acetate, and ethyl acetate is a great denaturant for this use because it'll turn into vinegar. And when it turns into vinegar, there's no problem. There won't be poisonous anymore. Okay? So think of it. I'm trying to give you, that's an example of the chacham that went into that.
But the vinegar's not intoxicating now?
No. Vinegar, where the alcohol has turned into acetic acid. There's not a bit of alcohol left in it. No, there's nothing at all. So I'm saying that to you is because if you think about that, then you say, wait a second. If that's what they did, so do you think that alcohol is mutter l'achila? Do you think that alcohol was mutter? That denatured alcohol should be mutter? That is chilas l'fkam v'sofer l'shvach. By the end of the day, that alcohol is perfectly edible. So I don't know if you should eat it when it's poisonous. Don't worry about that. But when it turns into vinegar, it didn't become mutter. The fact that it was once l'fkam, so that makes us be a little more cautious about the denatured alcohol, because maybe we have to think that when the government, when they denatured it, they did it in a way that by the time I'm finished, it's okay. Think about it. When you make, one of the things I told you how you denature for mouthwash is you put in menthol. Okay? Menthol is what you think of a minty taste. Okay? So menthol is not what you usually think of when you put into an alcoholic beverage that you're going to drink. But menthol is fine in mouthwash. It's appropriate. It fits into mouthwash. So you have to think then, if you want to say, well, yeah, if they denature it, it's for sure mutter because it either tastes bad or it smells bad or it's poisonous. But maybe not. Maybe the denaturing that they put in is a kind that in the end product is perfect. It doesn't make a difference, like by the case of the vinegar. Okay, so you have to be put a little more thought into it rather than just say, oh, if it's denatured, it must be mutter. Because it doesn't always work that, especially for something that's going to be eaten. I'm not talking about if you want me, talking about your deodorant. Okay, that comes up, Pesach Shiloh. The deodorant has denatured alcohol. Because there, so to speak, it's easy to denature it. Because no one's going to eat this stuff. They don't have to worry about it being poisonous. But things that are closer to your mouth, where they're being more cautious to make sure that it's not poisonous, they have to be play more carefully, then you have to be worried maybe that they did it in a way that doesn't make a difference. It only makes a difference in the alcohol stage, not in the later stage. Okay? That's the second thing. So what's going to end up happening is, we're not going to move away from denaturing for a second, it's going to come down to a very fundamental shiloh, which sort of has to do with the background of the simon. The simon is about Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, when one food makes another food taste bad. But the yisoid, of course, in Nosein Ta'am Lifgam is something that's not royal achila at all. And there's a serious debate in contemporary poskim, a little bit in earlier poskim, but in contemporary poskim, how do you define something as being not royal achila? There's two radically different ways to define what it means that something's not royal achila. It sort of has to do with Nosein Ta'am Lifgam, but more on what not royal achila is. Some say a food is only considered edible is if I would put out cups of it over here, would you take a drink of it? If I put out Pepsi and Sprite, then people would drink from it. If I put out mouthwash, there wouldn't be a person here who would drink it. Okay? It might be fine for rinsing out your mouth, but some people say in order to be considered royal achila, it has to be royal achila, that people would drink it. If the only time people drink it is because they're forced to or some special reason, that's not royal achila. For Haraya, in Hilchos Pesach, it says, it describes what's considered royal achila, and it says that a food that the only people who eat it are cholim, a food that a regular person doesn't eat, only a cholim would eat it, is considered not royal achila. So that means that a cholim eats it, but a regular person wouldn't eat it. Meaning if you put them out a choice of drinks, they wouldn't pick that one. That's considered not royal achila. So they say, so that tells you that the royal achila means is mamish, that people would just eat it if they had a choice to, would they consider it a food? The others get it, and they say, no, that's not the thing. They say to be not royal achila means it has to be so bad that you could barely get it down. It's disgusting to put it in your mouth. And they bring a raya. Which Shlomo Zalman has a tshuva about. He says, when you want to decide something is not royal achila, he says, be cautious how you make that decision. And he brings a raya from the Gemara in Kashrus. The Gemara has declared whether meiraglayim shel chamor are considered royal achila or not royal achila. Okay, now, I never tried them. I never tried eating meiraglayim shel chamor. And, of course, to do this, you have to try it not knowing that's what it is. Because if you know what it is, of course you're going to think it's not royal achila. But you have to not know what it is and try it. So he says that now anybody who's reading the Gemara is like scratching their head, right? Everybody just imagines that meiraglayim shel chamor is not royal achila. We can only imagine what it must taste like. He says, but yet the Gemara is not so sure. See, he says it in the sense of you have to be cautious in making that decision. Sometimes what you think is not royal achila, it's not so clear. Sometimes you don't know until you put it into your mouth whether it's royal achila or not. Okay, that's it. But others take from that Gemara a different thing, which is to be not royal. What if the Gemara is clear? Because to be not royal achila, it has to be really awful. It has to be that when you put it into your mouth, you don't have to choke it down to get it down. The nafkamina between these two ways of looking at it is all these kind of things that people put into their mouth, or that maybe even that they eat, but they don't really want to eat it. I mentioned to you mouthwash. What about toothpaste? What about children's medicine? Okay, those things, if you eat it, because you have to eat it. You brush your teeth because that's good for you to brush your teeth. And there are kind of kids who eat toothpaste. But don't people, if you put out a plate and you put out French fries, potato chips, and toothpaste, okay, how many people would put their spoon into the toothpaste bowl and eat it up? It doesn't work like that. It's not a food. But you could get it down. They mix enough stuff into it, you can get it down. So is that royal achila? It's not royal achila. Okay, the other shiloh's not the alcohol. There's other shilohs. Other shilohs think that might be true. So there's two just radically different ways of looking at it. What's considered royal achila and what's not. So it's not so much to do with denaturing, except the denaturing comes with these kind of toiletry kind of shilohs. And this is the shiloh. This is really the bottom of that shiloh. Is how do you decide something is or is not royal achila? Okay, and I'm going to just one last part, which is Indian Pesach. These dinim have a little bit of a twist to them, and that is because, at least for the mouthwash toothpaste, the shiloh that we have is only a shiloh of a drabanan. Because to put something into your mouth and spit it out is only, at most, an issur drabanan. The issur deraisa is only if you swallow a food. So if you put toothpaste in your mouth and you spit it out, it's not more than, it can't be more than issur drabanan. So one thing is just stam. The fact that it's a shiloh drabanan is already a reason to be made. Second is, the reason why it's also drabanan to put tray food in your mouth is because you might swallow it. You might taka eat it. So there are those who say that issur only applies to things that you taka might eat. A thing like this that no person in the right mind would ever eat is not even also drabanan. Even if it is royal achila, but nobody would eat it by choice, that's not even issur drabanan. Okay? I'm contrasting that to shilohs of Pesach, where of course there's general chumras of Pesach, and Pesach has an extra angle of it that there's an issur by Yerah, there's an issur to own issur also. There's not just an issur to eat. So the issur achila have kulas to them that issur of owning it may not have.